Bro,
So
happy
we're good.
America's
You can hear
birthday.
me. This is good.
Yeah, that's all cool stuff. So I rearranged my office. Had I rearranged my office last time we did this, or it's happened?
I don't think so.
Oh, you know what? Last week I did it from my other office.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, you were in a different space, but I can't tell if it was the rearrangement or not. So
So Mrs. Girdley moved the bathroom, or moved the bathrooms over there, moved the bed out of here so I could change the field to give me more depth of field in terms of where I was sitting. So
nice.
I'm pretty stoked, and it fixed my lighting a bit too. So I've got work to do, but it's definitely improved.
I need to hire somebody to do my office because I just put my shelf facing these windows up against my bookshelf, but it does look like I'm streaming from a closet. So I need more depth behind me. I did a
Uh,
YouTube video and somebody said, if I sold two companies, I wouldn't be working out of a closet. That's for sure. And I said, fair point. It's not, but it looks like it.
I worked really hard. I've been working really hard on my storytelling ability, and somebody's comment was, "You need to work on your storytelling ability." I was like, "Oh, thank you."
Thanks for the feedback.
What is a funny thing about YouTube? Uh, when you're early, you have to just find something that works, and you have to just keep doing it over and over again. People will tell you that's not the case, but it's totally the case. And it turns out people want to hear me talk about business. They want to hear my insights, but nobody wants to hear things that went right. They want to hear fail stories.
Hmm.
My top 5 videos are all fail stories.
Wow.
What happens? What's happening to tequila? What's going wrong with craft breweries? Like, why did X fail? Like, so it's such a downer because now I have to make a bunch of like why X failed videos.
Now you're going to do like a 1 hour expose on that couple that put their life savings in Beanie Babies and lost it all. People are going to be like, I love this content. And you just want to talk about people like who are building interesting things, adding value to the world.
I totally do. And unfortunately, I got to tell. Well, like I did a video where I went to the original Shake Shack, and I was like, "This is awesome! Like, look how smart these guys were. Nobody gives a crap. everybody wants to know why Long John Silver's failed."
Yeah.
So
Tell us more about the downfall of Quiznos, nerd. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay.
get your ass in there and tell us some bad news. Well, and people like it when I go on site. So I went to my most popular videos going to the Sphere. Like I've got 250,000 views on that, which is huge for me.
Hmm.
And but so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do Long John Silver's next. Like, like, and so I go over there, and between the time I came up with the idea for the video and went over there, they went and tore it down. So I'm like standing in front of a vacant lot.
That's perfect.
I'm like, behind me used to be a Long John Silver's, and then they tore it down.
Nothing is more symbolic than going to a business to explain why it's failing, and then they just take the building down.
So just totally.
You need to put like a lightly negative spin on a super successful company. Be like, today we're touring the least successful Buc-ee's location in Texas that only does $20 million in sales per month. And then you just like have that be the headline. But
I
it's
don't
still like
think.
a positive story.
I don't think. I don't think people appreciate how a Bucky's has like Taylor Swift level impact on a small town's GDP.
Hmm.
Like like when you go into a small town of like 3,000 people in the middle of nowhere and you drop $250 million in retail sales on that little town, like it just changes everything.
Yeah.
Um, it's unbelievable. And the numbers they have. I do have a video that I did about why Bucky's has succeeded. Have we talked about this before?
No.
So, okay, I'll save you the whole video. But I was like, why do people like Bucky's so much? Like, what
Mhm.
is the big deal? And I went in and I tried to just like understand what it was. And the thing I realized was as I was going through it is if you look at every other like gas station or truck stop, they've made compromises to enable them to work with truckers, local traffic, and people on road trips.
Hmm.
Okay. So they've made compromises there. For example, like something as simple as truckers, like there's a truck fueling area, or there is a like there's like basically parking for trucks, right? And people have to
Hmm.
worry about getting run over with trucks. What Bucky said is, okay, we're going to optimize everything around these people who are on road trips and want to stop. and
Mm.
we're just going to make this a hostile environment, and we're going to tell those other people, like local customers, we don't want you. Like if you're just like on your commute or whatever, we don't want you. And then they went and told truckers like you're not welcome. And what that enabled them to do was go through and basically make every single little decision perfect for that person on a road trip.
That's super interesting. Yeah,
And
that totally makes sense.
it's nothing by itself, it's everything together, like down to like the type of concrete they used. Right, the
Mm.
concrete that they used is one, like if you go look at their little fuel areas, there's not a bunch of fuel spills and oil slicks like you get from the trucking area, and the bathrooms and the gift shop and all that kind of stuff, or the width of the parking spaces. Like it is all designed precisely for that ICP. And they just said, screw it. We're not dealing with the rest of the ICP or
Mm.
the other types of segments out there.
That's pretty interesting. There have been many times driving between here and Utah or here in Colorado to visit family where like you stop in some random mountain truck stop and it's all truckers and you're like, this is terrifying. And you're like, I wish there was a Buc-ee's here. So that totally makes sense.
Thing with, all right, well, Kanzi's here.
Sweet.
So I'll click to bring him in. Kanzi, so you know you're coming in, buddy.
He's ready.
Yeah.
Woo! Hey guys,
Hey,
Ridley. Hey Chris, nice to meet you.
likewise. Good to meet you.
Con, is so good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So Chris, Con and I have been buddies for a long time. I knew Con when he was back still in college. I think before college, like in
No,
high school,
before like
right?
high school. Yeah.
So he was hanging around a co-working space that we have here in San Antonio called Geekdom. It's like an entrepreneurial co-working space, and him and his buddies were super entrepreneurial and like hanging around. Then he went off to college, went to Cal, and he and I have stayed friends for obvious reasons because he's awesome, but then also because we're both cyclists, so we would go ride bikes together and get lost and have flats and all those kind of adventures. And now he's in New York. He's been really involved, like in the tech side of sports, is the way I would describe it. So he's done like analytics stuff where they were doing like visual analytics of youth basketball and that sort of thing. And now I don't know how much you're gonna want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it. Like he's
Yeah.
involved in the gambling aspect of stuff. So their newest company is doing stuff around that. So anyway,
Awesome.
I know that's what he and I were DMing yesterday. I was like, we're gonna have a crap ton of questions for you about this gambling thing you're doing, but I don't know how much you want to talk about it because you don't want to have alpha leaks and stuff
95%
like that.
open
So
book.
Yeah, what's the gambling thing at a high level? I'm curious now. You have piqued my attention.
Yeah. So before this, I was just like regular tech founder, software engineer type, like trying to build products for users. Now, just like pulled together some money with a friend, and like started a fund or like betting syndicate, I guess. And we mostly bet on basketball, but anything that we feel like we can quantitatively model, and win at. So now it's like playing a zero sum game instead of doing value creation, which is a completely different mindset. But I think it keeps me like intellectually engaged, like fun new challenge. And like we're pretty ambitious about like growing it, in terms of like profits, not people, like as quick as possible. It's like unclear how long the sports betting like opportunity, in the US, like it's unclear how long it stays like good for. So yeah.
What
why do you think it's like there's a time fuse on it? Do you think regulatory stuff is coming, or do you think there's going to be more entrants coming in and basically kind of competing away all the alpha, or how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I think a mix of all those, right? So regulatory wise, it's like a bit fragile, with like there's like the legal sports books like FanDuel, DraftKings, and there's like new kind of prediction market type entrants, and there's like this whole carve out for like sweepstakes books that are now getting like cracked down on. So it just feels like it's always changing, and like the way we're actually able to like bet the money is kind of related to like regulatory things. So that feels a little fragile, but books also probably get smarter over time. Like one of the things that we do is like not compete in things that are like extremely difficult. Like for example, like English soccer is, or like Premier League is seems impossible to beat for like two people just sitting on their laptops. Like there's like betting syndicates that have, you know, tens or hundreds of employees that have resulted in like the owner of the syndicate like buying a team, right? So like that stuff is probably as competitive as like financial markets, and we're looking at like much easier things, just because like we want to win and don't really care about like betting the most like popular stuff. Um, so I think yeah, new entrants like probably make some of those things like harder. And sports books are also kind of just like giving away money still for like user acquisition things. Probably the rich people, rich degenerate whales in the U.S. like haven't lost enough to like quit yet. So sports books still like feel good about spending money on acquiring them. It's kind of unclear how long that stays around. Yeah.
Who has made the most money gambling on sports? Like obviously there are like funds of
Yeah.
varying sizes that do this. There are individuals that do it. Probably hard to track like P&L in sort of an authoritative way, but like is there like a guy or a fund or somewhere in the world who's like these people have made like billions, they're just killing it on this?
Yeah, I think like Star Lizard in England. I get like those people mixed up, but one of the Premier League teams is like owned by a person who used to run like a betting fund.
Okay.
So to be able to buy like
He
like
bet
a
enough and
team
won
is
enough that he bought a team.
yeah. So there's that, and then I think like Haral Bob. I don't know if you've seen him on Twitter.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, Bob
He
Woodward.
shows up on the Bill Simmons podcast all the time, which is
Yeah, yeah. He's like kind of he's like big into crypto now, I guess. So if you count like the early sports betting winnings turned into like settled in crypto and then just holding that from like 2012 to now, like I'm pretty sure he's made a bunch. But
hmm.
I think he's talked about how he like wanted to buy an NBA team at some point and just realized like the values of those teams like got way out of control and he wasn't like ultimately able to do that.
And so you said this is you and one other person. Are
Yeah,
you, is it all like you're managing your own money? Are you managing other people's money? How does the structure work?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's me and one other guy. Like, actually met him on Twitter, like 5 years ago. But yeah, it's just our own money. I think the way we're doing it, it's hard to have like outside money just because we're limited by um, like finding enough good bets and betting enough on them. So like more money doesn't really help.
Mm,
In fact, like our returns are higher as a percentage if we had less money, right? So like as we grow, it's kind of like, oh, it's hard to bet the same amount as a percentage of the money we have. So that makes it like tough to kind of have outside money, but it's possible outside money could help with like, you know, if we wanted to hire someone to do some programming or modeling or something, but
hmm.
kind of
Do
would
you do
involve sharing
you care?
systems.
Do you actually care about the sports that you are betting on, or is it just like pure quant, like analytical, like work for you, or do you like get enjoyment out of like following this stuff as well?
Yeah. Honestly, like way more enjoyment before, but
Yeah.
now it's like some of the weird niche stuff is like also on at like weird hours of the day. So like sometimes I don't even know it's on or like have to sleep type of
Right.
thing. So it's become, I think like when I watch like basketball, for example, it's like kind of my brain is like wired to be like, all right, let's find an edge here. Like let me like look at what's going on. Can I observe something and turn that into like something quantitative or I could use in a model or um, you know, how do I adjust these things? So that I think ultimately makes it feel like a bit more mentally straining than just like cheering.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
so what I mean, there's just like stock investing, right? And short term high frequency trading, there's all kinds of different like approaches, right? There's people that are doing trend based stuff. There's folks that are doing, I love the chart guys who are like doing whatever.
yeah. I love to make fun of those. Come up with like new technical analysis shapes and stuff like that.
The shape of this
Right?
graph is a small giraffe, which
Yep.
means I should go all in.
Exactly.
But I mean, how do you separate what you're doing from just like what a normal chump is doing, trusting their gut?
Yeah, I think trying to understand like how the data in a sport is like generated, like um, when you look at the stats that are available, it's usually through some like scorekeeper pressing some button that is keeping track of like, I don't know, rebounds or assists or something, right? And that's just like the proxy that society has decided to come up with to like measure what's happening. So just like thinking carefully about how that works, and then also actually having like back tests and stuff like that. That's like honest, where you don't use any like future data. Just doing like actual good, honest data science, knowing that the stakes are pretty high, and that like if I cheat myself in that process, like I'll just have no money.
Yeah.
So I think that like, yeah, not doing it for like a towards data science medium blog post or something. Like I'm doing it for
For
real
real.
money. So I can't really just like throw buzzwords at things, right? Like it actually has to kind of make sense to me and make sense for the problem. Yeah,
As you've dug into this space, I would say the mainstream opinion from like Twitterati is that the prevalence of kind of digital gambling and like just being unrelated is a net negative for society, and especially like a huge net negative for kind of folks I would say a little younger than you, like folks
for
closer
sure.
to my kid's age. My son's 19, right? And I think you're like 27, 28 at this point,
Yeah,
right?
28 right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yay me with math. Um, but like how as you've dug into this, has it changed your mindset on how gambling should be treated in this country, regulatory, societally, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the advertising is like pretty annoying. Like, it's kind of hard to watch a game on TV right now without just getting bombarded by like, FanDuel or some announcer just saying like, here are the current odds, like download this app type of thing. And like these companies probably can pay the most for ads. So it's there, and like NBA revenues directly relate to like how much the players get paid. So like in the short term, they're always going to want this type of stuff. Yeah, I'm like under no illusion that like gambling kind of net negative for society. Yeah, there's like regulation around just like no crazy like blatant advertising on the most popular venues. Like it's probably like long term curbs this stuff a little bit, but I don't really know how that's like politically feasible. Yeah, and then yeah, like there's also a bunch of just influencers doing ads. Like Drake, I guess, will just go gamble like $200,000 on blackjack, like on a Twitch stream, and that seems like really dangerous. And I don't really know how you could kind of stop that. But
Yeah, just the reach and ability of these advertisers to spend money is unbelievable. Like even just in a relatively small town in Northern California, an hour outside of San Francisco, like we'll go into a random bar and like the bar will have DraftKings stuff everywhere. There might only be like one TV in the bar and you'll see
yeah,
like steak ads running on the TV as DraftKings is like on your coaster. And then you go open like the Twitter app and it's just like you see all the like steak like sponsored
yeah,
video stuff and you see yeah Drake gambling $30 million at the and you're like I don't really care about sports or
yeah,
betting and yet like you can't get away from it. Like it's so prevalent. And
yeah,
interestingly, I saw to what you guys were just talking about. There was a YouTuber who's sort of making, documentary style, videos. And I think his audience probably skews very young. If I had to guess, I would guess it's like young males. And so Steak was, chomping at the bit to advertise with him. And it was interesting. He did a steak ad in a recent video, and all the comments were like highly critical of this. Like, this is dangerous, dude. Like, don't take their money, stay away from them. Gambling ruins lives, blah, blah, blah. I just thought it was interesting. Like, the market now that some of these companies, the poly markets and the stakes and the
yeah,
DraftKings are going after, are like turning on that, it seems like a little bit publicly, which I found pretty fascinating.
Right.
It's almost like for a certain period of time, alcohol or vapes or whatever, like these super cool things when you're young, and then maybe that generation gets like a little bit older and they're like, actually, this stuff is pretty terrible for a lot of users if you're not careful with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I wonder if like that type of backlash will ever be there for like the Robinhood like options trading type
Yeah,
of interface, right? Like that's kind of like my cope or justification of like, look, this already exists in just a different format. Like Wall Street Bets or whatever is already encouraging this type of behavior, and now it's just like a different company like facilitating this same type of like, oh, I need to get rich quick
yeah.
mindset.
I think it's easy to pontificate on the dangers of sports betting, but on the other hand, I also write, and Michael writes, $50,000 or $100,000 checks into pre-revenue companies for a living. So it's like a different type of gambling, but
Yeah,
we all have that. We're all looking for an edge
right.
in some place in our lives, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
So
speak for
think yeah,
yourself, bro. There's
that
no
stuff
luck
is
in anything I do. This
that
is
stuff
skill.
is easily justified though, right? Because like you're creating value if things work, and like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is gambling's like pure zero sum, and like
Well, I guess without getting into your strategy, but which we don't need to here, but I think I'm curious, like, are the winners in gambling as a whole, is it just like a volume game? Like, are the winners shooting for winning 50.5% of the time? Is this kind of like a blackjack type I guess odds in terms of like how much you have to be betting in terms of volume here?
um yeah, that's a good question. I like honestly a lot of these groups are like pretty secretive, but
Hmm.
it's closer to that than like I'm gonna bet $20 million of volume this year and net five, right? Like
Right.
that is just insane. Like win
Yeah.
rate. Like there's
Nobody's winning like 2/3 of the time on their
no
bets.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like so the edges are really small. Like basically all their stuff is like easily single digit like ROI. So every dollar bet like not going to return more than like
Yeah.
10 cents for sure. But I think in special circumstances there can just be kind of insane betting opportunities that are not that volume game. Like kind of the most fun I've had like winning at betting is like on the Olympics where there's not really any data for a lot of these sports because it like doesn't happen very often, and like you're just going against like the DraftKings trader or some other trader at some book that has to manage like the lines for 20 different sports, and like you can just go in and think about one sport, like I don't know, equestrian, like dressage or something. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and like study horses for like a little bit, right? And then oftentimes you'll just find like, uh, yeah, the book probably just like downloads like world rankings or something and like just puts something like roughly correct up and like charges insane like house vig, but they feel protected by the house vig because if people just click buttons at random, the book is going to make like 10 or 20% on that stuff. But it's very possible that like one of the contestants is just like wildly mispriced because they got a new horse or something, right? Or
Right.
like I would know nothing about this sport before,
Yeah.
but you just get to sit there and like read about it for an hour and actually like have an edge, right? And then the difficulty is like actually figuring out how to bet it, but that's like the non-quantitative stuff. It's kind of just like using logic, and
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen very often, obviously.
So how did you guys decide to do this? I'm curious how it came about.
Yeah. So I was like sold a startup like last March, and honestly was like a little burnt out by just like building products for people, and like kind of dealing with company not like politics or just navigating trying to get my opinions across and stuff. And then I had this friend that I met on Twitter, and we hung out in person a bunch too. And he kind of found good ways to like get the bets on, like figure out where and how to bet them. That's like a big part of the business. And then so we were just talking, and like kind of always wanted to do something like this. And like before, I kind of bet on the side where I'd like run some models, but would get limited by the sports books and like kind of give up on like trying to win, like for real. So once I saw that like he had this way of actually betting this stuff, I was kind of like, all right, well, let's just do it.
Mhm.
Like I would love to just like pour all my effort into like solving this game, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then are you better off being in a highly liquid market, like betting on the Lakers, or are you better off being in illiquid markets, or it's totally situational dependent? Like betting
Uh,
on equestrian, Olympic, whatever.
Dressage. Yeah.
Turkish soccer.
like horse ballet.
Yeah.
No, I think yeah, I don't know. Both depends on the situation. Like in the beginning, definitely a liquid, but I think like as we win some more, it's kind of impossible to just only stick to the liquid stuff or like the weird stuff. Yeah.
Do you have to, are you, do you have to live in a certain place in the US or in the world to do this? Like, if you could, if you moved to California, could you like legally do this? Or I guess, how does that work from a
Yeah.
legality perspective? Because I think it's very state by state right now, depending on what you're betting on and how much and things like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is like some of the stuff that's like a bit don't want to talk too much about, but like
Sure.
it's yeah, like we can send bets to people who live in like the right states,
Right.
basically. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
that makes
can
sense.
kind of be anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. What, so outside of, I guess, the platforms that we've talked about and kind of the individuals or funds or groups doing the betting, I guess, what have you, or have you seen any other interesting opportunities around like sports gambling, sports betting? It
Yeah.
seems like there's obviously like the whole advertising side. There's like a separate media side of, what Barstool has done with basically building this massive media brand, which is, I don't know what percent of their revenue comes from the DraftKings of the world, but I think it's pretty high. Outside of those things, I guess, have there been things that you've looked at from either dabbling in this world or now working on it more full time, where you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting if somebody is, listening to this and is kind of interested in the world that you're working in?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think like I'm obviously still curious about like building stuff because like
Hmm.
doing this like zero sum like competitive stuff is also like kind of draining at times and feels pointless. But like content for sure is like huge, and I'm just like, well, I'm terrible at content for like normal people like to make like I don't know. I just don't feel like that's in my wheelhouse at all. But for example, like capitalizing on like discourse around some sport, like people are making good content around like Angel Reese like to miss her first shot, it'd just be
Right.
like five dudes like sitting there like watching the first like 5 minutes of the game,
Those
right? Like
videos are awesome. I've
yeah,
seen them.
they're so good, and like that you can just keep coming up with ideas like that to like build, I don't know, following for that type of content or do like barstooly type of content. I think that stuff is like interesting, but kind of always ends up leading to like, oh, I'm just going to be an affiliate for Sportsbook and shovel customers that way. Like, yeah, I'm sure it like is good for the people who can figure out how to do that, and then like maybe just start using like the AI video generation tools to like get some more insane stuff. Like, I don't know, I was just randomly scrolling like Reels or TikTok, and there's so much of this like obscene like AI generated like funny videos that could be like maybe tailored to like sports content. Seen people do crazy stuff like, oh, I just work like a 7 hour shift at DoorDash. I'm gonna put all the money I made on like black or on roulette or something, right? And like it would just be that for the entire like Instagram grid. And I'm like, oh shit, they have 20,000 followers, and like obviously they just try to send people to like steak or wherever. That stuff I think is like bad, and I would never really touch it, and probably wouldn't even be good at it. I think the stuff that's more possible for me would be there's a lot of like computer vision advancements, I guess, and really good like open source stuff that can take like basketball broadcast video and turn it into some data that's useful. And there are people like doing this obviously already, but I think from my perspective, like knowing how basketball works from like a prediction standpoint, I feel
Mhm.
like I know what signals to like extract from the video, right? Like it's kind of overwhelming to be like, all right, I'm going to get all the XY of every player like 20 times a second or something. Like that's kind of not a problem that like two people sitting around can like solve and bet. But if I just do like, is the where are the players like at the point of the shot, or like who's bringing the ball up, like just small things like that that I know have predictive value for whatever, like just
Mhm.
extracting those things can like improve models a lot. We're kind of building out stuff to basically have a rating for like every player in the world, and there's this new trend of like European like 18 to 20 year olds coming to us for college because like the NIL stuff, like basically they would get paid poorly probably in Europe on like a professional like reserve team when they're 20, but coming to the US they can like really capitalize on the NIL stuff. And just I think a lot of colleges probably don't know how to value those players, so there's probably some like analytical consulting type of opportunities there where I don't know, like schools probably just can get tricked by a random like European agent that's like, oh, this player is really good, like you should pay him, and we would have like a number and be like, no, actually these five players are the same, and this is how they turned out, stuff like that. But
Imagining the
I think we're getting
future of this is like my like elementary school son will have to like sign a waiver when he's playing flag football to like use computer vision so that some like $6,000 liquid market between multiple countries can like bet on like whether he gets tackled or not.
yeah, that would mean
The
being like
computer vision stuff
full.
is interesting. How much how important are these data sets, and I guess are there, because I can imagine, I mean, I think one funny thing that as you were talking about, the intricacies of even knowing, where somebody is on the court, in proximity to other players, let's say, or who's passing to whom, is like being important factors. It feels like there's been this funny trend around like Donald Trump's height, for example, and he's listed at 6'2", and some people say that he's 6'4", and he says that he's 6'3.5", and Wikipedia says he's 5'11". It's like we don't even know how tall the president is. So if we can't agree on that,
Yeah,
then there's got to be a lot of misinformation, wrong information on just like different player stats and heights and
for
like
sure.
wingspan and like all these things that like might be important. And I
Yeah,
guess is that just sort of like aggregating lots and lots of data and sort of trying to blend it, I guess.
yeah, I think so. Like
Yeah.
especially, yeah, that stuff could be definitely captured via video, and I think like how fast you run,
Yeah.
even have that for your son, like like
Yeah.
when he's doing flag football, to he covered this distance in whatever time, like all those things can definitely be surfaced through some of the computer vision stuff. Yeah.
Wild.
So when, I think one of the things I love about how you're thinking about this is it feels like you don't think this is permanent, right? You think this has got a timeline. Like, how are you thinking about that's so rare, by the way. Most people go in and start a business and they're like, hey, I'm going to be doing this forever. It's going to be this huge thing. And you're like, yeah, this is going to be awesome for a while, but it's just a stepping stone. Like, how are you thinking about kind of like, what is that exit condition? Like, do you have an ideal of like, okay, I'm going to do this for this period of time and here's the exit condition for me? Like, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I have a vague idea that an exit condition exists, but don't really have like a number or like a situation. Obviously, like if we're losing, then yeah, I'm done. But like in the good cases, I don't know. Just like it's a good question. Probably should think about that. If I really just like feel like playing in these zero sum games is like weighing on me mentally, probably want to go back to like creating something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cause I guess on the other side, there's a psychological toll that the other half of this is every time you win, somebody else is losing and the sports book's taking their cut.
yeah. I just think of it as taken from the sports book, but yes, that necessitates someone being losing. So yeah,
Yeah.
indirectly. Yeah,
Have you,
that's like a big. I don't know if it's a big toll. Like I don't know if you're like working in finance. Like obviously the same thing is
Yeah,
true.
there's people on the other side of trades every time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe more is like I find that some people just like only like rage over when they lose, and like when they win, they're just like not even happy. Yeah, and I don't really want to be there. So
yeah, I mean, I think you run in, and Chris, you probably have run into some of these people that are like 32 and like they spent time trading in their late 20s and they're just cooked. There's no, they have nothing emotionally left to do that kind of stuff anymore. So kudos
Yeah, I
to you.
think
Stay young, my friend.
the the I
well,
was
that's
going to
like
ask you about this because I think one of the things that comes to mind is two people in my career that I have worked with. One who was actually from Austin, Texas, and was a professional poker player when he was like 22 to 25, and then he got into SEO and is like the greatest SEO person that I've ever met, and runs like a wildly successful SEO firm now that's like doing more on sort of the tech and AI side of SEO. And then another guy who was um, huge into buying and trading and flipping like lesser known baseball and football cards on eBay when he was like 16 to 20, and is like amazingly quantitative in like a content marketing way. I guess
mm,
like those two of all the people that I've worked with, like two of the more special people kind of had this background like early on in their life in different ways. And I guess sort of like leveraged that intensity and like that volume into doing something else in tech, which is pretty cool. I guess it's like if you have the skill set and you can apply it for a few years and you can come out on the other side without feeling too burnt out, it's totally a superpower. I think it seems like so.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
find I like know nothing about the SEO stuff, but do you see that as like competitive in like a similar way, or
I think it can be, and I think that I think that my buddy would argue that it uses a lot of right now like the same sort of high volume approach to SEO, and like the sort of shenanigans, as he would say, that you're using probably on the back end to direct bets to different people and figure out how do you get this bet in, and it's kind of the same thing with like backlinking. If you think about it, like how do we get high authority backlinks? How do we get people to talk about this article? Can we incentivize people to talk about this article? It's sort of like it's a little bit relationship based, but I think a lot of it is like zooming out on the analytics of like from a marketing perspective and a conversion perspective, like what is driving revenue to our client sites versus not. And I think that there's so much fluff in that space, I think, in content marketing and SEO in general. And it's probably similar to sports betting. It's a space that has gotten a lot tougher. Like clients have harder demands, and they want more volume because they know that you can use AI to do some of this stuff. So I don't think it's like a perfect parallel, but they're definitely, I think, seeing his personality be applied to like professional poker, and then to doing a bunch of stuff between being a professional gambler and running this very successful SEO company. I definitely see like his intensity is important in sort of the way that he thinks about the world, but I think it's for sure less zero sum than pure gambling
yeah,
for sure.
anything
Uh,
is, yeah.
But
yeah.
it's probably, I mean, I got to imagine it's the same vibe, right? Like you're in there, there's a dynamic market where stuff is changing all the time. You're watching and pulling in, running multiple different experiments to see what are the right indicators and what works at this given time based on where we're at in the market. And like, I got to feel like it's the same kind of vibe and fun that you get from what you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, I guess thinking back to the exit condition thing, it's like I kind of don't want to develop like skills that are so specialized to like just winning at this game. Um, so I guess like I'm coding every day, so like I still feel good about at least like some skills aren't atrophying and stuff. But if it gets to a point where it's like, oh, they're so specialized, like could I even do anything else after?
Mhm.
I mean, I have other friends that are in their kind of 28 to 30 time frame, and it's a for real challenge, right? That's when most people are at a fork in the road where they decide, okay, well, like I'm in sales and I'm just going to be really, really good at sales and I'm going to work my way up into sales management. Or there's other folks that are like, hey, I want to, I don't want to get pigeonholed into doing this one thing. And I have a friend who's precisely in that situation where he's going to have to make a decision because his job has been for the past 6 years, like 22 to 28 in a very specific corner. But he's like, I don't think I want to do this functional area in corporate for the rest of my life. So like he has to figure out how to like, okay, like how do I get a job that's not this? How do I get somebody to give me a chance to do something that's not pigeonholing me?
Start a
Um,
company, and you can do whatever.
that you could do. Well, I mean, once you have, let's say you have engineering and marketing, or you have marketing and sales, then people like somebody will give you an HR job at that point because it's like, okay, you've shown that you can switch functional areas. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the way I ended up doing it was like I was in engineering and then I went to marketing and then I went to product management and like that's something you could do inside of a company, I think pretty easily. The problem is if you try to do it and switch a company at the same time, I think it's almost impossible to do that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I'm also 50, so I think shit's changed in the past 25 years.
Maybe not that much though. It's all just the same shit over and over again. Same cycles. We're somewhere on some cycle, and then we just exited the low point of the crypto cycle, and now I don't know, equities, and just I don't know. We're all riding on similar roller coasters in our careers, I think. So
Yeah.
So I have one last question for you. Then we gotta let you go. But I read an article about online poker has been just totally dominated now by especially Russian kind of cartels. These people put together these massive like bot farms that are playing
Yeah.
online poker. How do you feel like automated betting and trading is starting to play in your space? Like, does that have potential?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Like the fact that like Kalshi and Polymarket are kind of blowing up um, has opened the door for that a bit because they are both like you can trade with an API,
Yep.
like you can actually automate that. Versus like I still have to go open like FanDuel and click a button,
mhm.
and terms of service would probably not want you to automate that. And yeah, so if that stuff like becomes the main way that people bet, then yeah, there's also like maybe a way that I would like stop doing it because it would probably get really competitive. But yeah,
Yeah, I know another guy indirectly who, does professional sports gambling as a gig and they, the core of their stuff is there's this whole like informal network of like coordination across all the different sites and how they're doing stuff and
yeah,
obviously nobody's breaking any laws,
yeah,
but it is a situation where like I think in my interactions with him, they kind of talk about that's their secret sauce. Like they've got
yeah.
this like nailed
Same,
in.
same,
Um,
yeah, similar here. Like we have people that's like go to this like run to this kiosk like in Australia they like have the physical like at a bar you go like type in the bet or whatever. I've never done that but we like there's people we message like go there like in some states and then like Kentucky there was a guy that we just like message on Telegram or something and be like go.
It's funny how every business, regardless of size, faces some like artificial constraint. And a lot of success is just like breaking those constraints. It's like they're always like the dumbest things. It's like we know that we could win at this if we could get the bets in. And like at Nvidia or something, it's like we literally don't have enough like physical like real estate to be building GPUs anymore. And like
Yeah,
Berkshire Hathaway is like, there's not enough like interesting companies to go to deploy this $400 billion cash pot. It's just like there's different
there's
constraints in
no
any business
constraints.
that you're in, and like if you can Warren Buffett your way through those or Jensen your way through those, it's like just over and over and over across lots of decades. But it is funny how like many businesses now like the top of their respective fields, but even like the world economy just like have these completely ridiculous constraints that they just like can't be doing interesting things with their money.
Yeah,
Um,
you probably wouldn't even like think about those constraints like going in, right? Like
yeah,
you would think about physical space is like
yeah.
a
Do
limitation.
people want this? How do we compete? Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. This has been awesome.
Dude,
Yeah,
thanks for being here. It's good to visit with you. Let me know when
yeah,
you're back in town. Khan's parents still live in San Antonio,
yeah.
so
I
when
missed
you,
you last time I was back, so
yeah,
I'll
holler
sure
at me when you're here. We'll get on a bike or something.
exactly. Sounds
Sweet
good.
man.
Great to meet you, Chris.
I'll catch you later. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. See y'all.
Chris, I am very hydrated, so I'm gonna do a BRB. Come right back.
Let's do it.
Let me see if I can do the overlay.
That's the
Uh,
best. It makes us so professional.
where is it? Where is it? It's like, oh no, not this one. There we go.
Oh, yeah. There we
I'll
go.
see you in a second. Oh, the thing I love about what Khan's doing is, and by the way, it's Can. So
Can.
I'm sorry, I just remembered. I was like, oh, I'm such a stupid American. But anyway, uh, the thing that's cool about what Kanzi's doing is, like, I think doing stuff like that is really smart when you're a builder, because he's going to run across like probably 10 different tools he would be ready to pay for, and these other people will pay for, and he could build those and sell it to his audience very quickly.
Totally.
Um,
So I was
and
asking him. I mean, he's clearly a very, very sharp guy, and I think it's usually beneficial to have a engineering or product or design focused or sales focused or whatever focused mind if you're in an industry with lots of dumb money sloshing around. So if you're like just taking this thing that people are spending billions of dollars on 1% more seriously than the average person,
yeah.
like you're going to find an edge somewhere doing something that's, more scalable probably.
Well, have we talked on the stream about Agora and some of those businesses?
No.
Um, so there are these huge businesses that are basically, whenever you see those like weird Outbrain ads that are like, this guy stock picked whatever, those are all top of funnel to get you to sign up for paid newsletters. Well, there are companies behind that. And it turns out it's a huge concentration. There's a handful of like companies that are the dominant players and all that. And one of them is called Agora. And then they have a ton of sub brands, and they all basically operate the same way. Like they find somebody to write the newsletters. They partner with them as independent contractors, and then they do all the production and funnel stuff. And then that person is the front face, writing the newsletter and doing stock touts. And
Wow.
those businesses are enormous, right? Because it's the same thing like all like the gurus do, where it's like, okay, I'll get you in for the $499 seminar, then I'm going to get you in for the $2,500 stuff. And then then at the end, there's the $1,000,000 a month Tony Robbins thing, right? And it's all everything in between. But it's kind of the same deal. They're trying to get you to the $500 a month stocked out newsletter that is supposedly like going to, help you invest in the next versions of AI or whatever.
Those Facebook groups just across every industry, whether it's like, I'll teach you how to run your own marketing agency, or I'll teach you how to invest in real estate, or I'll teach you, how to get an edge in sports gambling, that often start with like Discord, Instagram, Facebook, are so insanely valuable when they're run right. I had no idea. I heard of a guy a week ago who has a 300,000 or 400,000 followers on Facebook, and he's making 4 million a month from courses. 4 million a month. And it's like all the money's in the high ticket stuff. Like you said, like he converts to a $30 a month course and then a $500 a month course. And then he gets people to go for this like $30,000 Tony Robbins seminar thing, which is a very small fraction of that 300,000 people. But he's making millions and millions of dollars doing this, which
Yeah.
is insane.
I mean, it's a tough thing because like maybe we can ask Don about this, but it feels kind of, the whole business feels dirty,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It does.
and you can make a ton of money doing it. It just feels dirty.
Yeah.
So
I
on that
mean,
note, let's bring in somebody who's
you,
not dirty, Don.
yeah.
Hey, hi guys.
What's up?
Don, how are you, man?
How are you guys? Nice to see you. I'm at one of our strip malls right now. Wasn't expecting this, but I'm in Stockton, California, and our stereo shop guy was like, "Yeah, use the back office." So I'm literally at one of our strip malls, and he was kind enough to not only ask for a 7-year lease extension, which I'm happily giving him, but also let me use his office here. So
That's amazing.
Are stereo guys good tenants? Are they as good as
he just asked
karate?
for a 7-year extension. So that says a lot. Yeah, he does benefit here. His sign is this grandfathered in like massive billboard
Mhm.
on Hammer in Stockton. So he's like 50,000 cars a day. So I think that's part of it. And so he's been here a while. We inherited his lease a few years ago when we bought it, and yeah, he's busy. That's how we can tell. We walk in and just see if they're busy or not.
Hmm.
There's not much to it. So,
You're
Chris,
not
I
you're
feel
not
like
far
we're
from me. Are
not.
you going to make it to the best strip malls out in San Ramon, California, on this visit?
I was in San Ramon yesterday. We actually have
Nice.
two strip malls in San Ramon.
Yep.
So, yeah, right next to the Safeway Center there. So
Yep. Katie's Corner, right?
that's our
That's the one
tenant.
there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we have the guy who sells Legos next door, who's
Yeah.
if you have kids, pay him
That's
a
amazing.
visit. And yeah, Katie's Corner is an institution, huh?
Yeah, they I whenever you bought that strip mall, I don't remember when that was. I think that there was like a real deal thing that that you reposted, and it was maybe right around the time that you started using your real name on Twitter. And I was like, that strip center looks like, I don't spend a lot of time in San Ramon because we're now up in Alamo, which is 10 miles north, but I was like, that just looks
Yeah,
so familiar. It's like our favorite breakfast place. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely
It's
a
amazing.
local legend.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's a tenant next to them that signed a lease, I think 4 years ago, to open two restaurants, and was about to open, and had his build out was done, and then he couldn't get his gas turned on. PG&E was like, you don't have enough gas here. So part of the reason that is because they couldn't figure that out. So we, with more, working with PG&E and finally getting it turned on next week. So this poor guy's been waiting for like 4 years to get open. So it'll be Katie's Corner. This he's it's like a brew house, and he's got a this kind of meat market thing. So
Nice.
coming soon.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Have you guys met before or no?
We have once at
Once,
the
okay.
last year at the New York Real Estate Gala.
Yep.
So very briefly, a
Yeah.
couple times.
Oh,
Yeah.
you went to the
Yeah.
gala.
You.
So yeah, I did want to ask you about the gala because this is what, year 3 doing it, or year 2?
We just finished our
Third
third
year.
year. Yeah.
And is it coming back for number 4?
It is coming back. I just signed the paperwork, and yeah, it came out of left field for me. I didn't, much like this whole crazy experience with Twitter and whatever's going on with social media. It just happened randomly, and it's gained traction. And I guess it's amazing what happens when you have an event where it's free and it's curated, and you're not, charging money. And so no one was paid to be there, and no one paid to be there. So it's been, I can't explain it, but it's been magical.
Oh, like attendees? You didn't pay for tickets as attendees?
Yeah, it's free. So it's sponsored. I don't make money, any money on it. So Crexy, Agora, uh, Placer, Trep sponsored it, and I run it to break even. But I mean, for me, my benefit is it's great for the strip mall guy brand, which ultimately is why I spent all this time on it. The brand brings us so many deals, including the Katie's Corner deal that wouldn't happen without the brand. And
Hmm.
so it's been a way to elevate and create value in the brand, but it's not something I, you know, monetize.
Yeah, it was a fantastic event. I was traveling for this year's, and our youngest is very young still, but I hope to make it if I get an invite to the year 4. So it was like, it was the craziest event because usually I feel like, from being a little bit of quite a bit of an outsider to the real estate world, I feel like usually if you go to like a tech conference or a PE conference, you just kind of know what you're getting into. And this was just like, it was the highest density of people where I was like, God, this guy looks kind of familiar from across the
Yeah,
room. And I started talking to him, and like we had been following each other for like 6 years. We had exchanged
yeah,
DMs. Like, yeah, like maybe it was in a non-account, not even using his real name. And I was like, oh shit. So like it was just, I probably met 30 or 35 people from Twitter DMs for like the first time in real life. So just that
yeah.
density in one place was like so incredible. So it's been a really great
Yeah,
event.
there's a magic to it. Like, folks get really excited when they see, Sheil or one of these accounts that they follow and they feel like they know, and then, there's meeting in person, you're hugging them, it's really a magical experience. And yeah, I mean, it's also a combination of folks that have, very small accounts that no one knows about that are like doing huge things in the industry, and then people that have larger accounts, and also people that are just like up and coming, and what there's no name tags, so you're forced to go talk to people and not just judge them based on, oh, that's an, and so and folks, most people fly in for the event, so it's just a crazy level of excitement. So yeah, we want to keep it going, and Bob Knackle came on 2 years ago to co-host with me. Bring him back next year again, and we'll see what happens.
The thing I love most, and by the way, thank you for inviting me. And sorry I didn't show up. I'm very grateful.
Next year, man.
Next year, next year.
April 23rd,
Uh,
I think April 23rd. So mark your calendar.
okay, April 23rd. Um, the thing I love the most watching looking at the photos after, like the ladies who were there, like getting dressed up, like you could see on every single one of their faces how much fun. I mean, I guess there were probably some who were like didn't thought it was a pain in the butt, but like the ones I saw the photos of, like it was so cool to just see them so excited to have gotten to dress up because it's a different planet than it was 50 years ago where people like I haven't worn my tuxedo in like 4 years, right? Like I don't go to
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I think it's the same thing for women where a lot of them like have fun dressing up like that, and like it's so smart of you to do it that way because I think they just look like they're having a ball. So.
Yeah, I mean, and guys too. I mean, as you said earlier, like I don't wear tux very often either, and a lot of people I think didn't like who were gonna come kind of last minute. I had like 5 people, 8 people like didn't come. And I think that's a main reason. It's like, yeah, I gotta wear a tux, but it's like once you put it on, you're like, yo, this is like freaking awesome. And so yeah, it's a pain. Folks are renting tuxes, etc. But if someone doesn't want to come and be there enough that they will go wear a tux, then that's self-selecting, and then all good as well. So.
And we can not talk about this if you don't want to, but as somebody who runs a conference now, like it's top of mind for me. But like when you get 150, 200 people together and there's alcohol involved, inevitably there's going to be some people who are out of line, right? And like I dealt with it like at our conference, like we're dealing with stuff like that. I was just curious, you're having done this 3 years, how are you, how do you think about that? Like what have you learned about how to deal with people doing
Yeah.
inappropriate stuff?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with who you invite to the event. So I only get, there's 200 whatever people that come. I only get like 60, right? Because there's sponsors, there's Knackle. So for me, everyone that's invited is someone that is part of the community. They've got some credibility, and then it starts with that. It's not an event that goes until 2 in the morning, right? Like there's a pretty, I think it's like a 9 or 10 kind of hard cutoff. So historically it wasn't meant to be this like wild and crazy event that goes late night in New York. So for me, it comes down to who you choose to be there. Make sure that you kind of know who they are. And look, I mean, I'm not someone who throws a lot of events. This isn't what I do, right? I'm small business, so I think curating it is a big deal. But we're always learning, and then I look to some of the folks that are involved that do have more experience with events for feedback on that, and try to get better every year, because ultimately this community loves each other, right? It's an environment. As far as like the folks that we know online that we're interacting with, we like each other, know each other, right? We really really get along. There's a craziness that goes on through our real estate community, and so the key is to copy and paste that on to the event. And so that so I think that that's just something that we're you know I'm learning more about. But again, it comes down to who you invite in the first place to minimize the odds of like some random person being, and I think that if someone does act inappropriately, they should get called out, and we want that. I mean, it's the same thing in the community online. If someone ends up being not who we thought they were, which has happened a few times in the past, like people pile on and they dig into that and they reveal it and then they call it out, which I think also is another measure. I think folks should know that if you want to act inappropriately, like you're in a room full of influencers, you're going to get called out. So don't be an idiot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I started doing like 12, 15 years ago was organize like guys ski trips with other dads. And
Cool.
it was funny because probably 3 of the years, like somebody showed up and really was out of line. And the pattern I noticed was like 6 to 18 months later, I would find out that they were going through like hell in their personal life. Like one guy came up and really acted out. I started hustling people at a pool table, like on the ski trip. He's like trying to take money from other dads, and I had known this guy, and he was really great. But then I found out like 12 months later, he was like getting divorced, and his business was going bankrupt. Like just like he was going through hell, but he was just acting out, and that was the only way he could communicate it.
That's
So it's an
that's
interesting
like in
pattern.
Friends and Neighbors, that the show that we're watching on Apple right now is
Yeah.
it's the same situation. There's these conflicts, and then you realize later that all things back. We just watched that show the other day. So
We stopped like halfway through. So maybe I should get my wife's like, "Do you want to keep watching?" I was like, "I don't really." John Hamm as a misanthrope is not really working for me, but whatever.
yeah, it gets better. I mean, it's I don't know. We like it.
So I'm primarily asking because you're calling from a radio tenant
A
in
strip mall.
Stockton. How often do you travel for work? Like, are you just bouncing all over the country to like visit prospective sites and existing assets that you guys own?
So this makes me happiest. Like I love stopping by and visiting tenants and asking how it's going. Like this morning, I was in Galt, California, half an hour north of here or whatever. And it was one of our gym tenants was there, and I was talking to customers coming in. How does it go? Is it busy? They're like, yeah, it's busy, whatever. And so I love doing that, and it's what I grew up in the business doing, but I don't do it very much. It doesn't scale. So in
Mhm.
a way, I bought myself just an office job now. I sit in Manhattan in Midtown, and my team gets to do all that. And it's not that often. It's very hard to leave home now with our young kids. It's something I didn't expect. Um, I dread it now, right? Just as you know, and our 5-year-old, 1.5-year-old now, and leaving my wife with and so I don't do it very often. I get out here. I try to get out here 2, 3, 4 times a year. But we have a site in Indiana, and we're in San Diego now, and in Tucson, and um, I do find every time that I visit, I find things that my team missed.
Mhm.
Right? It's just whatever. I just I walk the site. Why is the monument sign still have that tenant that hasn't been here? Like, why is it for lease sign here? When Wingstop took our space in Galt. We signed the lease 4 months ago, and there's still a little for lease sign out there. And it's like these things drive me crazy that I noticed. I think no one else would even care, or it wouldn't matter. But
Right.
if I had it my way, like back in the day, I would be on 280 4 times a week at 10 a.m. No traffic, going down from the city, stopping into our site by Santana Row and visiting the properties. It literally makes me happy doing that, but I don't do it anywhere near as much as I used to.
So you started your real estate career in the peninsula out here, is that right?
In San Jose and Campbell. So our first
Okay,
deal was in Fremont.
cool.
Yeah, so that's most of our centers are in the Bay Area. So I think out of the 45 we bought over the years, probably 40 are in the Bay Area ish. And so I mean, I think the next 45 most will be outside of the Bay Area. But yeah, I just grew up here, and so we built the brand right. I think most of the brokers in the retail, there isn't a ton of them. Every time there's a Class B strip center deal, they pretty much think of us as one of their first calls. And I never knew how to create that nationwide. And it had my accent with the strip mall guy brand now. And so, now we're getting calls from daily from across the country on deals. And so I never could crack that nut of like, how do I get someone in Texas to think of us? So in the Bay Area, I was like, it was fine. But it's like, I think these days work. Like the deal volume isn't there. There's so much capital chasing deals. Google Maps changed everything where I can analyze a deal in Indiana in 5 minutes where before I couldn't, and vice versa. They can analyze deals in my market. So I don't think you can earn a living anymore in real estate focusing on one market, which, like the mentality used to be, oh, focus on one market, know your area, that's it. And I believe that, but it's such a blind spot now. So as long
Mhm.
as you know your niche really well, you can do it in any market.
Yep.
In terms of kind of you talk about going to visit these strip malls and there's things that you see that your staff misses.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you tried like the FaceTime equivalent of them like walking around the center and you
Yeah.
FaceTiming with them while they're doing that? Because, we own
Yep.
real estate and like we'll do that where it's like my brother will call me or a partner will call me and
Yeah.
they'll be like, okay, FaceTime. And then like I'll be able to see the whole thing, but it saves me like 9 hours of travel to get there. And I know there's stuff you have to miss, but curious how that's worked for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So, we are doing a thing now where my team will have those, I don't know, like, are they Ray-Bans with that have
The
the,
meta
I guess
glasses. Yeah.
it ties into the phone. So like that's been helpful. We also ordered the kind of GoPro has something I think that you can, I want to see it like I'm there. I don't know. I really want to like find a way to do that. But it's like, so I do that. Actually pretty often, especially when there's construction going on. I just like seeing the new facade come up, like in San Ramon or whatever it is. And so, we had a lot of construction in the last 18 months that's now wrapping up. So we did lots of that. They don't miss anything major that's crazy. It's just like little things that I find that just I'm just nitpicking on stuff. And so yeah, like, if there was some VR headset where it feels like I was there, it'd be fine. I don't know how much it really matters at the end of in the grand scheme of things, that if it's perfect, but it's like I would just enjoy an experience where, if someone walked it with a high definition camera, and I can watch it as if I was there, that'd be like my like Christmas that like amazing. So
Yeah. How much do you think kind of that Google mapification of the world of real estate and kind of the increased, I don't know a better way to describe it, just like the information is so much more readily available for all this stuff because of technology. How do you think that's changed how young people should think about like getting into real estate, or at least your corner of real estate, which I know real estate is a hugely, I mean, it's a more, I mean, there's ground up development, all this kind of stuff, different types of offices, different types of industrial, different types of retail. Like, but how do you think that's
yeah.
changed how young people should become professionals in real estate?
Yeah, and look, when I started in '02, so Google Maps was kind of starting. There was no Street View. Street View is a total game changer. And I think that like for example, right, even back then, if a site hit the market in San Jose, California, and you're in Florida or in New York, and if there's someone in San Jose, it'd be a matter of driving out there. Like we would go drive to the site and make an offer, right? Or we know the site because it's in our market. Now that person in New York can see through, Street View history. It goes back to '07 now. You're talking almost 20 years of site history now. You don't need to be, oh, I grew up around that area and I remember it used to be a coffee shop and it turned over. Like you can see it now, right? And so it's just I think that the new generation is now gonna, just automatically is gonna be able to look at deals anywhere, which they're doing, and analyze them almost as quick as someone local. Um, and the playing field keeps getting more leveled. So again, I think that it's a very old mentality. Oh, focus on your area. Like that mentality started before the internet, before you can
Yeah.
even do all this. So I think that there's no question that folks already are seeing the world more naturally. And look, and to me, I was, before I was, intimidated by, well, going outside of the Bay Area, such a big country, whatever, but it actually is pretty small. Like once you start looking in different markets, you pretty quickly see patterns of like, that area of Chicago. If you go north, it's a very different story than going west versus south. And there's Cook County. And so like it really shrinks the world where now, I'm not scared by, oh, it's in Baltimore or it's in Boston or it's in Seattle. It doesn't feel so foreign because you're looking at deals daily in those areas. And, it's not this crazy, oh my God, it's like, how am I going to learn on all those markets? And so, yeah, I think it's already happening. And the younger generation has the edge. Like folks that are launching funds now, they're in their early 30s with iOS, and these younger folks are immediately going to many markets. Whereas 20 years ago, it would be like, okay, one market, how do I, and lots of folks are still stuck in that. So I think that's, all these things keep changing that level the playing field. AI now, so all these tools, that being one of them, are making it, harder to have an edge.
What do you think is I guess from your perspective, what's difficult about bringing new technology into the real estate space? Like from when I was working at Zillow early on, and then briefly worked at a CoStar competitor from 2012 to 2013. One of the things that makes me laugh is like every time I talk to somebody in real estate, and you guys obviously have a massive portfolio that's all over the country. Like one of the things that makes me laugh is it's always like, oh yeah, well I can evaluate a deal on Google Maps, and then I like look at this thing in Excel, and then like we'll get comps on CoStar, LoopNet, or whatever. It's like, both in residential and commercial, of course, there have been like these new entrants that have done super interesting things, ranging from the Crexies of the world to Matterport, and like all these different companies that have carved out their small or large niche. But it feels like the like bread and butter of the industry, or like the most commonly used tools, even with some of the new AI stuff, haven't really evolved. I guess why is that? Are these tools just like,
Yeah.
are they not
No.
helpful? Are they serving the wrong audience? Like, what's your take?
Okay, so I gotta word this carefully. So
No, don't.
PropTech is hard.
Give us the
PropTech and
hardcore
all
one.
this being recorded and all. I'm not anonymous anymore. Excuse me. PropTech is hard for several reasons. One of the reasons is um, if you look back at high school, right? The a lot of the super nerdy kids that went to Ivy League, etc., are not in real estate. They don't go to real estate. They don't go to brokerage. They just don't, right? And so you have the kids that were maybe better at sports, or they weren't necessarily. I'm generalizing, you guys. You got a higher concentration of those folks that went into real estate. Those
Mhm.
two groups are like the sales and the engineering people and tech. They don't really get lunch together. They don't have a lot in common. Usually, generally, I'm generalizing, there's exceptions. I'm sorry, Twitter. Um, and so a lot of prop tech companies I see, they have these tech folks, but really thin on real estate experience. Like they'll check the box on a couple of things, but no true operators that started like originally in leasing and learn every aspect of the business. What we're in property management, really learned it. So you have this thing where brilliant tech folks with not a lot of real estate experience are trying to solve problems that really aren't there, or they're not solving the right problems. um a lot of them don't love a lot of feedback from the real
Mhm.
estate folks. Okay, that's, again, I'm generalizing. The other issue you have is real estate is an industry that does not want change, right? The folks that are in it, a lot of the families that own real estate have been in it a long time. They've done well. Interest rates have helped them. They don't want things changing. Some new product coming in. They're not really open to, let me think outside the box and go figure out what new tech is out there. A lot of brokerages are the same way. Like it's worked this way for a long time. We have a lot of market share. We're not looking for change, disruption, etc. So if you bring up CoStar, and CoStar is used by a lot of folks to have good data, but a lot of CoStar looks very similar to how it did 20 years ago, or as far as
Mhm.
the UI. Um, Nothing wrong with that, but it's just you have a lot of folks that have CoStar, have been using it for a long time. They pay for the service. Um, they don't. It checks the box for them. They don't want to. They don't need to see it change. So, it's one is, again, tech folks wanting to do real estate stuff without the experience, really. And you have an industry that's like, we're here, we're guarded, don't come in, we don't want any change. I would say a lot of brokers that have been in the business a long time, Placer's an exception, where they create a product where it's like, here you go, put this, in your packages. It's foot traffic, easy to understand, etc. Brokers, I would say a lot of brokers aren't out there looking for the next new tech that they can use, that they can maybe help them, etc. They like the way that things have been. I think that's changing a little bit with the new generation, but I think those are two of the reasons. But yeah, I mean, prop tech is a tough world. A lot of companies fail, and I think those are two of the many more reasons, I'm sure.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, it feels like I think I've had so many, and I mean, I had this kind of fallacy, 13 years ago when I started in prop tech, but it was like it feels like the engineering mind being so disconnected is always like the premise is always that there's somebody in the stack that we need to get rid of. Like nobody likes brokers, nobody likes architects, nobody likes site planners. It's like actually maybe in a theoretical zoomed out, people don't like it or they feel like they're getting, overcharged or something or with their real estate lawyer or whatever. But it's like everybody loves their broker and their real estate lawyer and their architect, so it's like these jobs aren't going away. And so the idea that you're going to use AI to like completely reinvent brokerage or completely reinvent the way that these properties are planned is just like it's kind of an absurdity. And yet every single year for decades there's like 50 new companies that come out and get funding that basically have this premise, which is just
Yeah, I
so
mean,
far removed from reality.
totally agree. And it's very common for, and I have LPs that are in tech. I grew up in that world. A lot of my friends, it's a brilliant, amazing world, and but a lot of times folks from that world will be like, "Oh, real estate, we could do this. We're just going to jump in and like, oh, we're going to disrupt and be so contrarian and ignore this, ignore surely we can outsmart this like real estate guy that doesn't know anything about tech." So again, it's the salesperson or the marketing team versus the engineers at whatever tech company,
Yeah.
mentality for sure. And the broker thing is, I mean, brokers, they have the information. If you want to be a buyer who is relevant, who's scaling, you better treat them well. You better understand their value. I was a broker for a while. I mean, I pushed back a lot of the brokers, whatever. It's like, yeah, sure, like some brokers are not that good. That's just like any other industry. But as far as needing the brokers to be that middleman, I'm buying house right now, a weekend house, and there's no broker right now. I'm just dealing directly with the seller's broker. I don't have one on my side, and it's layer in there, because I'm showing my cards a lot by calling or reaching out. Oh, I'm curious, I don't know what's going on. So it's like it almost throws me off. You need that middle person to come, sometimes be harsher and then blame themselves rather than you, etc. So um getting rid of a broker, I mean, you know, good luck. I can't. I don't understand how you do real estate deals and just kind of skip over that. But
Yeah. If somebody, I'm actually curious because you mentioned you started in brokerage. I guess and I think you've tweeted about this, which I've always found helpful. But I guess has your take changed on if somebody has just graduated, they're 22, they're looking to do what you do. They want to own buildings, either residential or commercial, or they want to be a GP and sort of gather money from LPs and go do this. But like they want to be more on the investment side. Do you recommend starting in property management or brokerage or like going and working for, a general partnership? Like, I guess
yeah,
what's your current
yeah,
recommendation there?
definitely not property management. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
like an example I used earlier. That was just that's
Yeah.
not how you want to be typecast. Nothing wrong with prop managers. It's just not like if you want to be on the buy side. Look, my hack, which was again by accident, is without knowing, I was 22 years old and I got a job working for this broker, and I didn't realize he is one of the top strip mall brokers in the entire Bay Area. He's just really really good at it, and so the hack is go work directly underneath someone who's like freaking like top 0.01%. Whether it's a developer, a debt fund manager, a contractor, a broker, whatever it is, top 5% isn't good enough. Real estate is really, 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 I could say really 95 times hard. And if you don't work for someone who's truly at the very top, your odds of success are just like, massively lower. And so for me, number one is working for that guy. And then after that, I met a guy, this guy, Danny, lives in Fremont now. He is one of the top strip mall minds like I've ever come across. Maybe the top, as far as Class B mom and pop strip malls. And I happened to meet him because he lived in Fremont. He responded to a mailer that I sent out to owners. Hey, I just sold this. I met him, and he was like freaking Steph Curry genius. It's insane how good this guy is. He's not educated. He doesn't have he's just like it's just him. And he sees a strip mall. He's like, I'll do this, move that tenant. But I just spent hours talking to him when in my early mid 20s, just because he was so and so I learned from someone who was one of the best. So I don't see another way of doing it. Folks want to go do it on their own and just try one, and they lose a bunch of money. And I mean, it's a high cost. So spend your energy going to find that top 0.1% person. And if you can't do that and get them to have to to work for them wherever, then it'll be hard for you to do anything in real estate, because real estate, it's about being resourceful, reaching out. And so the hack for anyone starting is and do big deals. Be around companies that are doing $100 million deals, $50 million deals. For me, the one issue, yeah, I think I'm pretty good at strip malls, but like our average buy is 6 million. Right, 60 million is the same amount of work. A lot of fund managers, are doing $60 million deals, and also when you're at a firm that's doing $5 million deals, there just isn't as much, that much money going around. And so if you are working for someone who's moving around, whether it's a debt broker or whatever it is, large deals with massive assets, like there'll just be more money going around. So it's like I focus on an expert and an asset class that has larger deals than I would say strip malls.
Yeah. That's awesome. What markets are you most excited about right now? I know you said you're pretty agnostic, like you're looking at stuff all over. Is there like a macro that you're looking at from like a market perspective, or is it more like the performance of any individual strip mall that you sort of care about?
Yeah, I don't look at macro like that. I mean, obviously I'm on top of rates and unemployment and all that stuff, exit cap rates, but you can have the worst deal in America, like the worst property in America can be your best deal. And
Yep.
the best deal and best property in Times Square and Main could be your worst deal. So I think one of the things I disagree with is go focus on certain markets. And I said no, focus on finding great deals, right? Like we bought a site in northwestern Indiana in Crown Point a couple of years ago. I'd never heard of Crown Point. No one would say it's Main. It's going to be one of our best assets. So I think that a lot of folks forget that they skip great deals. Oh, it's a small market, tertiary, traffic counts, whatever it is. Like, sell me a great deal. I don't care what it is, and I'm not going to predict what market is going to do what. I love that so many folks are anti-California right now. It's hilarious to
Mhm.
me. They're like, oh, things are still trading at 5.75 cap there. I'm staying away. I'm chasing yield. Well, chasing yield means that you're chasing probably lower quality real estate. So, we've been buying deals in California the last, forever, the last 3-4 years as well, and some of our best deals. And I have an offer right now on a deal. They're offering me a 5.9 cap cash deal on one of our
Mhm.
sites. Right, I'm holding out 5.5 cap because I think I'll get it. That does not happen in other markets. And so I think that dismissing a market or being pro a market. I met with someone the other day who's getting into strip malls, and they're looking in South Florida. I'm like, okay, every shark in the US right now looking in South Florida. Those owners
Mhm.
want 2085 rents in 2025, or money in 2025. So it's like, yeah, there might be a good deal, but the odds of there being a great deal in South Florida are probably lower. So why not just look anywhere and just chase great deals? So it's a little contrarian, but I'm
Yeah,
I'm a
that
believer
makes
in
sense.
that thesis.
Super. Well, Don, thanks for being here, man. It's good to visit
Yeah,
with you.
thanks for
And
having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, so we ended up at as of right now, we've had 8,300 viewers on this. So believe it or not,
What is
yeah,
that a lot?
that's the most we've ever had. We've been growing like
Oh
20% a
my god.
week.
Are you
Yeah, we
serious? I
started doing
haven't.
this.
I just thought it was like three of us because I'm not seeing any of that. So it's funny because like if I was on Twitter looking at this and seeing the stats would make me nervous and speak all, and I get all weird when, but I hopefully people hopefully added some value, and thanks for tuning in. And I'm sitting here at one of our tenant strip malls in Stockton, California. It's a Stera shop. He's selling Stera. He let me use his back office. So
So
live
sick.
from Stockton, California.
It's so
That's
sick.
awesome.
It's perfect. It's very apropos. Well,
Yes.
thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
All right, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
That is funny. It's very easy to forget that people watch this as you're doing it, because it kind of
Yeah,
feels like we're just hanging out on a Zoom,
that's the
especially
way it
with
should
like
be.
the UX of Restream. It's just like, we're just chatting with our buddy.
Yeah, and I looked at there's 8,400. We'll look at the statistics after this because I mean we literally are growing 20 to 25% a week. But I think you crushed me this week.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah, unemployment checks came in. All your viewers.
Yeah. First of the month, baby. My audience, nothing to do, sitting in their mom's basement, just cash the check, playing Call of Duty on one monitor, and the TV that's stacked on top of the old TV is playing Builders Live. So
Whenever, yeah. So whenever Chris and I talk, and I feel bad about not bringing as many viewers as Chris does, I just remind him that my audience has jobs.
probably true. I think it was maybe it's just about the amount of reposting that I did, because I think I reposted and tagged 4 times. I guess you did 3 or 4,
I
2, but you
reposted.
reposted me twice, so I probably absorbed some of your audience this
Yeah.
week. That's
Look,
fine.
it's not a competition, but you're winning.
Take it.
I'm losing.
We should. We'll make you wear like a dunce cap for every week that you don't beat me in numbers, and that will incentivize you. And then at some point, I think on one of the streams you passed me, and then I'll have to wear it, and we'll just pass it back and forth. So
We'll get there. Well, so what we learned today? I feel like the big thing for big takeaway for Can for me was two things. One was his attitude about like, oh, I'm getting into this and it's finite, because I almost always get into things with the expectation I'm going to do it forever. Like I have that kind of mental mindset, and I have to get out of that because it causes me to stay in stuff too long. And then I think I really liked that, just the reminder that when you go do stuff like he's doing, that's the best way to find like hidden ideas that nobody's thinking about,
yep,
because you know your market really well. Like you just heard him talking. He's like, there's 15 tools he could make to sell to people.
yep,
Which it's just a great reminder. You just start doing stuff and suddenly you see problems all around you. You can make money solving.
yep. Yeah, I thought some of, I mean, he didn't go too far into it, but just the thinking about the fact that there are, one side of that market is people just like YOLOing their DoorDash paycheck into DraftKings every night is
Yeah.
terrifying. But like what Can is doing around like using computer vision to assess like how players are interacting with each other on the court, and then like adjusting the bets based on that is like, I mean, even if he does nothing in gambling ever after this, like some of those skills applied to other industries that maybe have less regulatory issues, or just more cash flowing through them, is going to be fascinating to watch. So
Super impressive guy.
yeah. And that was your first time meeting Don, is that right?
He and I've talked on the phone a few times,
Okay.
but first time talking live.
Yeah. He as we were riffing there, he owns my favorite breakfast spot down south of me, so I'm jealous of that.
Price of the holidays is going up.
Yeah. I thought his point about Chase just being super market agnostic was interesting. I definitely think that too many people focus on there's been such like a focus. I mean, I think you've seen this probably firsthand on people who are like only investing in the South from just a business or real estate perspective, or only investing in the resurgence of Manhattan or something like that, or like the boroughs. And it's like, I don't know, man, there's crazy stuff happening in Utah and Wyoming and Stockton, California. Like, it's not sexy to talk about, but it's these are important markets. So
Well, I think back, I started and did a couple venture funds going on. Well, the first one we started was in 2012, 2013. And one of the things I thought we did that was pretty smart was a lot of the people who invested us wanted us to do San Antonio only, San Antonio, Austin only, Texas only. And we decided we're going to invest where we think we can find good deals. And I think that was pretty smart. What I would have done differently in our shoes is go back and come up with a thesis and narrow our focus and just go deep in that thing. And you
Yep.
see like A16Z does this now where they just have like, okay, this is our education team and they're just deep in that. And that's the money we have allocated to this. And, and maybe I'm just, the obvious barbell theory of venture now. Like maybe I'm just kind of seeing how that was obvious in retrospect, but I think, being a generalist, but ungeographically limited made things harder than they should have been. Like I
Totally.
wish we'd have been a specialist and just say, we're doing this.
Yep. Yeah, I think there was a good Invest with the Best podcast with Neil Mehta that changed my opinion on this, where he was saying like, in terms of being, a specialized and highly focused investor, he's like, if your goal as an investor is to beat the S&P, the likelihood that you're going to do that by only looking at education companies in San Jose, California, it's probably not going to happen. So like you might become very well known as like the
Right.
top ed tech investor in San Antonio or the Bay or whatever. But like your likelihood of just finding enough concentration in that market that like beats some important index where you're just better off throwing your money in the stock market is pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of that's, as I'm getting older, that's starting to feel kind of the tragedy of the whole thing. And I'm sorry to be so like Debbie Downer and all these talks, but like, you turn 50 and you start to be like, okay, 70 is not that far away. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or I see people in their late 70s and 80s dying. Right. And it's like, oh, that's not that far away. But the thing that has me sad about it is you see that lifelong set of lessons those people have learned, and then like the person dies and it's just like gone.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's in a book somewhere, but like all of that ability they built up, it just disappears. And then there's a new group of people who have to learn many of those lessons all over again. To
Totally.
me, that's kind of sad. I don't know why I'm sad about it.
It is. Well, I guess the lessons never really change all that much, which is good. So you can basically pick up any any combination of business books written 2 years ago or 200 years ago, and you're going to find like interesting insights that are still applicable to today. So,
Yeah. I mean, where the struggle has been for me has been to understand what those things mean, like when people talk about them in theory or they get talked about in the books, and then recognize those in your own life and put those into practice.
mhm,
For example, like the idea that an employee either needs to be amazing at their job or they need to be out. Well, what does that mean in practice, right? Like that's something you can't learn from a book. And I know everybody's like, hey, you'll get so far ahead just reading all these books, but there's some of it for me, maybe it's just my own limitations. There's a struggle to really internalize what those things are and recognize it until you experience it.
mhm. Yeah, that's interesting. I also think, even this format proves this. I think so much of our culture around learning has become so ephemeral. Like
Yeah.
back in the day, you or I or Don or Con might have like written a book about what they learned and what they did, and like maybe it wouldn't even get that many people buying it. But like now, so many of the business lessons that are interesting happen over like YouTube Shorts or like X Live or like a LinkedIn post, and you're like, I'm never going to revisit this. Like I learned what I learned, I move on, but like future, even a day from now, if somebody's going to like revisit this is why we need to put stuff on YouTube, I guess, because maybe it'll be slightly
I
less.
I have 4 clips ready to go.
Okay, sweet. We're good. So that has been, not much has been highly requested, but one thing is, I think you and I have both seen comments from people that are like, get this on YouTube. I don't have time to sit. I actually follow Girdley. I have a real job. I'm not one of Baki's unemployed followers. I can't sit through a 2-hour stream every Tuesday morning. I have shit to do. Put this on YouTube so I can go revisit it. So that's our
Amazing.
next to do.
Cool, man. All right. Well, we're back. We'll be live again next week.
Next week, we've got a
In
pretty
theory,
crazy
I
run
will
of
not be in
guests coming up.
America, so we'll see if that works.
Yep. Sweet.
But I will be online.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Muhammad Ali says, "I save the posts for later and never look at them again." That's what we're counting on.
That's bookmark us. Never go back and revisit.
Peace out, suckers. All right, man. We'll
All right,
catch you
later.
later.